record.
Yep.
Oh, okay, great.
Hello to everybody who is trickling in. Welcome to another Wednesday of our virtual pre-college summer programs. Super excited to have y'all here, and I see that, yep, the trickling in is still happening. So we're gonna wait a few minutes for those of you who are here. Yeah, feel free again to use the chat features. Yeah, hello.
Hi, everyone.
If y'all want to share how y'all are doing in the chat, like that would be fantastic and very wholesome, so feel free. You just woke up, I'm jealous, yes.
I'm jealous too. Ooh, oatmeal.
Oatmeal.
Do we have birthdays today?
Trinity's 17th birthday is tomorrow.
Happy
Oh,
early birthday.
Hey.
Happy
yes,
belated
happy
birthday.
Belated happy
And-
birthday.
Alex's birthday was
yesterday.
Yes, all the birthdays. I see somebody asked about days. My day personally is going great, you know, knocking out my to-do list items. But yeah, how about y'all?
Mine is going. I will say I woke up this morning and did read some of my homework like early in the morning, so I'm glad I got that out of the way. So I guess pretty good.
Yeah, I started 3 summer classes yesterday.
Ooh.
I didn't
Three?
think it was gonna be a lot, but it's a lot. So
Yeah.
are you taking summer classes?
Yeah, I'm taking one Sociology 300, so it's just a 4 credit hour class.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
How many credit hours is yours? Like 9 to 10?
So mine's, I think, it's a 3, 3, and a 2. So yeah, it's 8.
8. Okay.
It isn't like horrible because like a couple of them are pretty low key, but like one was supposed to be like a 5-hour lab. So
Yeah.
moving online is like weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully it goes by fast.
Definitely.
All right, so I see. Sorry, Gabriel, did you say something?
Somebody asked what did hours mean in classes. Can I just answer that really quick? Okay, cool.
Absolutely.
So credit hours is basically how long you're in each class physically per week. So for example, a 4 credit hour class is typically, I'm in that class for 4 hours. So it could be 50 minutes 4 times a week. It could be an hour and a half or an hour and a little bit more twice a week. That just varies. And typically for every credit hour you take, you have like 1 to 3 hours of homework for that per night. So the more credit hours your class is, the more it counts in your GPA and the more you can expect to work on it.
I was today years old when I learned that. Wow. I didn't know that that's what it meant, so thank you for clarifying that.
Of course.
All right. I think we can go ahead and get started.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks everyone for joining in on another week of our summer program. So this week we do have our ESA students participating in their focus week, so the Emerging Scholars Academy. So they are not here right now, but we have our Caminos and our NEF students here today. So we are excited to get some more questions answered. We have two of our current students here today that are going to be joining us, that are going to be answering any questions that you may have regarding like student life or applying to college. Any questions that you may have, you're going to be able to put them in the Q&A box. So if you're here last week, then it's kind of going to be a similar format to that. You'll just drop your questions in the Q&A box and they're going to answer the questions. Jackie and I will take turns asking the questions for the students. So I will go ahead and have Adam and Gabriel introduce themselves, tell us a little bit more about themselves, and then we'll get started with the Q&A.
Yeah, so hey everybody, I'll start. My name is Adam Johnson. I am a rising senior, which is weird to say, but a rising senior. I'm studying nutrition science, and then I have minors in microbiology and biomanufacturing. I'm from Asheville, North Carolina, so the mountains, about 3.5 hours away from Raleigh. Apart from being an intern with admissions, I'm also a university ambassador. I am in one of the 4 a cappella groups here on campus, which is like super weird. I never thought I'd be in a singing group, but like it's college, things happen. I like to volunteer at the Duke Raleigh Hospital, as well as I hold a research position at our vet school because I'm interested in the medical route. So that's kind of one of the things that I'm pursuing right now. And I was also a member of one of our living learning communities, our villages. If you guys want to talk about that later, I'd love to. And a lot of fun things. I'm really excited about this. Panels are something I know we all love to do as interns because we just get to be ourselves and talk about our experiences. So literally any questions y'all have, I'm sure me and Gabe would be more than happy to answer those.
Hi everyone, I'm Gabriel Montague. I am a rising senior also at NC State. I'm majoring in statistics with minors in Spanish and sociology. I'm from Knightdale, North Carolina. So in addition to being an intern with the Office of Undergrad Admissions, I am a team lead with Multicultural Student Affairs for the annual Symposium for Multicultural Scholars. I'm a College of Sciences ambassador. I'm the director of Uninhibited Praise Gospel Choir on campus, and in the fall, I'll be starting as a student and data technology intern with enrollment and management services. So that's just my on-campus involvement, and I'm really excited to be here with you all today.
Awesome. Thanks, Gabriel and Adam. So we are going to start off with our first question. So just to begin with, can you guys tell us a little bit about your process in applying to college, and then what made you choose NC State?
Yeah, so for me, I always knew that I wanted to go to NC State. My parents went there, so they didn't like make me go, but I was always a little bit influenced with that. So I also knew that I wanted to pursue statistics and data analytics in undergrad. And so just looking at the colleges in North Carolina, NC State had like the best program for that, and also is ranked number 16 in the nation for statistics. So that was very influential in my decision coming here. I said I was from Knightdale, so that's about 15 to 20 minutes away from Raleigh, and I'm an only child, so I'm pretty close to my family, so I didn't want to go too far away. And then also, it's pretty affordable in comparison to all of the other colleges I was applying to. So that's kind of what led me to State. But in general, those are the things that I looked for. So how competitive is the program, its location, and the price.
Yeah, much like Gabe said, I kind of had similar factors. As I said, I want to go medical, which at first in high school, I didn't think NC State was a place for that. But then I learned about just being in Raleigh and the research triangle, whether you're at NC State or any of the other colleges, the opportunities are endless in regards to like co-ops and internships and even jobs post-college, which was kind of a big influencer for me. But also I knew that I wanted to go to a big university. I just love the atmosphere, the sporting events, the community, the sense of pride that comes with being surrounded by so many people that are also part of that, family. So it was kind of an obvious choice once I got here, and I was able to feel out kind of when I was in high school, I was able to visit and feel out kind of the atmosphere of the campus. And everybody seemed to have generally really, really good vibes. Everybody was here for the right reasons. They were supporting each other. They were backing each other. And that's kind of the reason that I chose to come here, and I've loved it ever since. In regards to the application process, in high school, I know that that can be a really, really stressful process. But using your academic advisors, using the resources from the colleges you're interested in, like I know Our advisors, they're amazing. They'll answer any of your questions. And even if you're not interested in a particular college, they're awesome resources for just the application process. One thing I've learned since I got to college is don't be afraid to email and call people. It is the most powerful and useful thing. Is sometimes it's a little bit intimidating, but if you can draft up an email and ask somebody a question, regardless if it's the right person or not, they'll point you in the right direction. So for y'all, definitely going ahead and reach out to people as much as you possibly can.
Yes, thank you so much, y'all, for answering that question and just being super honest about your experiences. Before I ask the next question to our participants, y'all, last week y'all had so many questions, so please make sure to use the Q&A feature to ask them. Like, we have all the time today to answer your questions. There was like 100 last week, so I want 100 today, so just keep them coming. And so with that said, let's actually go to the next question. So I want to kind of elaborate, in this, Adam, your answer kind of flows perfectly with this next question, because you mentioned that the college application process is stressful. It's a stressful process, like looking into colleges and applying. So can y'all speak to that, like your college application process in regards to the stresses and like what y'all went through and how y'all are coping with sort of that anxiety, or how you did cope with the anxiety when y'all were seniors in high school? Like, can y'all talk about like your process in that way?
Yeah, so since I was semi-talking about it, I guess I'll go first. One thing for me is like my family wasn't, my mom went to college, my dad went to community college for a little while, but it wasn't like a huge part of my family at the time. Not like a big university or anything like that. My sister obviously did. She's a little bit older, but I kind of had to navigate that process by myself and figure out how that worked. And like I said, I'm reaching out to my school counselors as well as the counselors that were in charge of the universities I was interested in was a huge part of it for me. I'm figuring out how to go through the common application or the coalition application. That is something that, can be difficult to tackle. But I did come, to the realization that there's plenty of opportunities for people to be there for you to help you. And then the last thing I want to touch on is the stress of figuring out where you're going to end up was obviously one of the scariest things for me, because college is probably one of the most defining choices of your life, is where you're going to end up and where you're going to be. But I really do have to attest that no matter where you end up, I promise that it's going to be meant to be, and it's going to be able to work out as long as you're willing to make the most out of it. So I actually didn't know I was going to end up at NC State exactly until, a few months before I was ready to come here. And so I kind of just had to trust that process and know that as long as I'm willing to make the most out of it, it's going to be a great experience. Where you go to school and where you get into school doesn't define who you are, but it's kind of what you make out of the experience itself. That's what I always like to preach to people, because it can be disheartening if you don't get into a certain program or a certain college or something like that, but it's all going to work out the way it's supposed to, for sure.
Yeah, so I definitely agree with all of that. And from my perspective, one thing that helped me was starting early and trying to manage my time so I wasn't stressed out like deep into my senior year. So for the most part, I had everything college related done pretty much by like November of senior year, because I was trying to be efficient with my time. So for example, when it comes to essays and things like that, I kept my things organized in a Google Doc. And I tried to do as many things that could be applied to multiple colleges at once. So for example, using similar experiences and similar essays of my own, but just tweaking them a little bit so I wouldn't have to write everything from scratch, and just keeping a log of everything. So I was a little bit like strategic with it, I'd say. So I really used that junior year to senior year transition. So I guess kind of like right now, for some of you, to really just go ahead and get ahead, and did a lot of research as far as looking into what programs were offered, how much they costed, and things like that. So just really use your resources also. So guidance counselors, anybody who you know that might have recently gone to college, or just reach out to different faculty and staff at universities. That can kind of alleviate some of the stress of wondering like what it's going to be like, because it'll give you a little more personable perspective about what you could be going to for college.
All right, awesome. So sorry, everyone. I got disconnected from my internet, so I got kicked out twice. So sorry about that, but I'm back now, and hopefully my internet is not going to kick me out anymore. But next question, could you describe the early application process and how it's different from the normal application? And with that, is early decision binding, or early action in our case?
Yeah, so the early application process, the deadline is typically November 1st. So of your senior year, and you would hear back by January 30th. So that's the only thing that's different. So with the early action, you could be deferred, meaning that your application would be considered with the regular decision applicants, where you can be accepted. And that decision is not binding, so you still have until May 1st, which is the National College Decision Deadline, or National Committing Day, whatever it's called. You have until then to accept or decline your acceptance into state. And I took the early decision route when I was applying, so I applied. For me, it was like October 15th. It was a little bit earlier, but I heard back in January of my senior year.
I am muted. All right. Well, thank you, Gabriel. So for our next question, we're gonna roll back to high school for a little second. So if y'all can change anything about your high school experience because of what you know now, like being in college, would you and why?
That's a really good question. And it makes me think about, I feel like the one thing that I'm starting to realize, as I mentioned earlier, like being a rising senior, college has flown by. And in the same way high school did. So I don't know if this is exactly the question you're asking, but I kind of just cherish high school a little bit more in the experiences. Obviously college is amazing. The freedom that you have, the independence, the opportunity to grow and figure out kind of who you are and what your identity is unlike, I think, any other time of your life probably. But high school is a lot of fun for me. And I know there's a lot of things that I'll never get back, like the small community of just going to school or, wherever you're at or whatever you're doing. And then also just being involved with certain things. I'm sure we'll bring it up later, but being involved with things that you're really passionate about or you want to explore are a huge part of the application process, and us getting to know who you are, as the faculty. I say us, but it's just one of those things where, like, if I could go back, I would cherish the things that I was involved in a little bit more. I'm assuming a lot of the people in this are juniors, seniors, around that. Okay. Yeah. So if you have 1 year left, 2 years left, whatever it may be, just make the most out of those opportunities. And then, as Gabe mentioned, use this time to start researching the colleges and universities that you're interested in, because it sounds like he was really organized, which I think is awesome. I wish I would have been more organized. And I think having like a spreadsheet or a document or something with all the things you're interested in is a great idea.
I like that. And as far as passion, I kind of have a similar answer. So I was definitely involved in high school in things that I was passionate about. So I was in like NHS, Key Club, Beta Club, and I was in like chorus, and I was on the track team. So like those are things that I enjoyed doing, but I was more so doing them like to get into college. So even though I was invested, I don't think I fully enjoyed the experiences because I was in such a like competitive mode of like I have to achieve these things so I can put them on my college application also. And so like now I know that everybody is in those things. Like everybody's in National Honor Society, everybody's in Key Club. So the important thing is to focus on your impact within those organizations rather than focus on like having them. So focus on like what did you change or what did you bring to the table in those organizations, and that way you'll get more out of it because you won't just be doing it to say like, okay, I had this checked off the list, but it's like I had that impact and I'm taking something with it that I can even talk about in essays and also just use as transferable skills.
Awesome, thank you. So this question kind of goes along with this, but this is a first generation student. So they said, what can I do as a rising senior to prepare for for the college application process since I am a first generation and everything is new to me?
Yeah, so with that, I definitely think you're already ahead of the game by just being here. So congratulations to you. But just continue to, so I would just say kind of have a list of like, where you want to go. Think about what you want to do. You don't have to have it. And that's also one thing, you don't have to have it figured out right now. It's okay if you have an idea of what you want. That's a start in itself. So just think about that. Think about some pros and cons of what you want your future to look like as far as being away from home, as far as what colleges have to offer, like in addition to their curriculum, but like different programming and extracurricular things on campus. Just kind of think about like the things that make you happy and where you want to go. And then with that, continue to use your resources. So like, even if other colleges or institutions have similar webinars and things like this, where you can get to know what's happening on campus. And also when you're looking into these colleges and universities, ask them about their resources for first-gen students, because a lot of times they have, whether it's scholarships or programs that are specific to helping you transition. I know here at State, one of my friends created one called First, and it's specifically for first-gen students that allows them to transition into college and to give them resources for their success. So just look into things like that. But I think you're already doing a great job.
I keep forgetting I'm muted. Thanks y'all for that answer. For the next question, and as you can tell, we're bouncing around different topics, so just bear with us. So what was the housing experience like while you were attending NC State, like whether it's on campus, off campus, and what did you wish you knew like prior to that living experience to help you with that overall experience?
Yeah, so I would have to say that I really enjoyed the living experience. Just to kind of sum it up really quickly, NC State, we have our two main living kind of things for first-year students are suites and then hall style. Hall style is like, it's like a long hallway with the rooms on each side and the bathrooms are at the end of the hallway. And then suites are like a miniature, kind of, it's the same as a hall, but it's like a miniature hallway. So it would be like 10 people in one suite, and then they all share a bathroom with some showers and a couple of stalls and stuff. So I lived in Bowen Residence Hall, which was suite style, for 2 years. And I really enjoyed it. You know, living in the suite style, I had the opportunity to get really close to the people that lived within that suite with me. Obviously, you know, it's kind of like an experience unlike anything else. I always tell people, if you've ever watched The Sweet Life of Zach and Cody, I'm sure there's probably some fans, or if you remember it, it kind of feels like that, because it's like you're living in a hotel. You're surrounded by people all the time. It's just a really great experience. Sometimes people ask us why we have a first-year live-on requirement at NC State, and why our first-year students, they have to be there. But I think it's probably pretty easy once you get here to figure out why. And it's because you are literally immersed into the college experience. You're kind of forced to step out of your comfort zone in ways. I know me personally, I'm pretty extrovert by nature, but when you get here, sometimes you do feel like you want to sit in your room and just like take some space, and that's 100% okay. I had to learn to balance that, you know, work life and kind of stay in my room sometimes, but also go out and challenge myself and experience new things. So I absolutely loved it. Sometimes the residence halls are a little bit smaller, but that's okay. You kind of learn to live with it. And now as a junior, I actually moved off campus, but I'm still within walking distance of everything on main campus at NC State, which is really nice, because I still roll out of bed and I walk out of my apartment and I'm able to walk to work and I'm able to walk to my classes and everything like that. So that's, you know, it's a pretty good experience. I'm sure Gabe has some other good things to say about it.
Yes, I definitely enjoyed my time on campus. So my first year, I lived in North Residence Hall. So it's on Hillsborough Street, right across from the Bell Tower, and it's a hotel style. So it was just me and my roommate, and we had our own bathroom. So unlike traditional and suite, which are cleaned by University Housing, we had to clean it ourselves. So we just came up with a schedule for that. And my roommate, we knew each other since high school. So I don't know what it's like to have a stranger as a roommate, but I'm sure like with that, that's another thing with that. They have on the housing application where you can put your preferences as far as how loud you like your music, what time you like to get up and go to bed, how neat and clean you like to keep your room. And from there, the faculty do a great job of pairing people with who they feel like you'd be compatible with. So don't be alarmed by that as a possibility. But then sophomore year, I moved to Wolf Village. So we have Wolf Village and Wolf Ridge. Wolf Ridge is on our Centennial campus and Wolf Village is closer to main campus. They're both student apartments on campus, and so you have your own bedroom, and there's typically 2 bathrooms that are shared. So 2 people share one bathroom, two people share the other one, and then there's a kitchen and a living room. So it's really that a way to get that privacy, but also to still technically be on campus. So I think that's a great transition if you're looking to eventually move off campus, but this allows you to see like, okay, am I ready? What's it like? And now like Adam, as a junior, I also transitioned off campus. So I live about 5 to 10 minutes away from campus, depending on the traffic. And it's definitely a lot more responsibility as far as navigating like being on campus and having classes and events on campus and living off campus. So it's definitely a lot of responsibility, but it has its pros and cons.
Awesome, thanks. So this is still related to housing, but could you guys talk about the living and learning villages and what that is at NC State and the benefits, I guess, of living in a living and learning village?
Yeah, so living learning villages are something you can apply to be a part of once you're accepted into NC State. So if you apply and you get accepted in, then that application will open up for you. I believe, somebody can correct me, but we have around 14 to 15, I want to say, living learning communities. And essentially what that is you apply. I'll use myself as an example. I applied to be a part of the Impact Leadership Village. So what that was is it focused on leadership, community outreach, and kind of just core principles like, what does it mean to be a leader? How can I grow myself as a leader in the community and stuff like that. Once you're accepted into the village, they're actually housed in different resident halls. So my first year, I lived in Bowen Residence Hall because it was where the Impact Leadership Village was housed. So the really cool thing is all three of the floors, floors 1, 2, and 3 in that building, all of us were members of that village. And essentially what it meant is we would meet once a week. We would have different committees where we'd talk about, community outreach in one of them. Other ones would be about like opportunities within the village for like just outings and stuff like that. And then we'd do different service projects throughout the year. It was a great way for me to get out of my comfort zone. Like I said, I was forced basically the first week of college to go out and do all these activities with these people and meet them. It was about 100 people, so it was kind of a smaller village. But we have villages for a lot of different things. They can be major specific or not, meaning that we have one for engineering. So that's obviously just engineering students, but mine was a bunch of different students. We have an eco village. We have a global village. We have one of my other favorites is the arts village. And every year they actually take one of the residence halls and they make it a haunted house. That's one of the fun things they like to do as art students is they actually decorate the whole hallway. They do a lot of face makeup and they'll like have music and stuff. So if you're interested at all, I think the statistic is around 40 to 50% of incoming first year students are a member of the villages. And then I actually came back my sophomore year as a mentor so that I could be a part of that. And those are options for you as well if you really end up enjoying it a lot.
Awesome. Thank you. And I will say that a lot of other schools also have similar concepts in regards to like living learning villages that first year students can take advantage of. I know that speaking from my experience at UNC, like I just remember applying to one specifically, and it was called La Casa for like students majoring in Spanish or for native Spanish speakers. So that was a really cool experience. I didn't get it because at the time, like my angsty senior self was too lazy to write the essay, but I did, yeah. So that was that experience. But other schools do have similar concepts outside of NC State that you can definitely take advantage of. For the next question, oh man, I had that in. Okay, so kind of going back to your college application experience. So scholarships are a huge thing. Did y'all apply for any scholarships? Specifically outside of the ones that are offered at NC State? And if so, how is that process and what advice would you have for students who are kind of gearing up to start that college application process and I guess scholarship search as part of that?
Yeah, so I did apply to lots of scholarships, and I will say my situation was a little bit harder as far as the financial need ones, only because like I'm an only child, and so it was really hard for me to like prove that I needed financial assistance. So a lot of the scholarships I applied to were outside of NC State. So for example, my mom works for the state of North Carolina, so like there was a one for the state employees credit union, that type of thing. So there's just various scholarships around, and I also did a lot of, so this is kind of back to the strategic thing. So I would keep a document with every essay for the scholarship that I use, because literally sometimes the prompts would be the same. So it would just be nice to know that, okay, I had this done. But those scholarships really do add up. And even if it's things that, like, for example, because of the outside scholarships I've applied for, I've never had to pay for my books any semester out of my pocket. So like even little, they might seem small in the grand comparison of how much it can be to attend state overall for a year, but it really does help out. So I just advise keep looking, and a lot of times the deadlines are pretty flexible or pretty late. So there's a lot of times you can find outside scholarships that are even still open through the start of your freshman year. So just never stop looking. And there's lots of resources specifically for minorities and things like that.
Great. Okay, so our next question is about college applications. So where do you actually apply to college? Is it online, or how does that work? And then with that, I had another question. Oh, when should you start writing college essays for those applications?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I had mentioned earlier, and either of you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I assume most colleges nowadays do go through the common application or the coalition application. At least that's what NC State does. So that is something you create almost like a profile for that, and you can go on and start. I'm pretty sure you can start doing your essays as early as you'd like. I don't think we change our essays barely ever. They've remained pretty consistent throughout the years. Yeah, so you can go on ahead, and that's one thing that I recommend. I've had people call, and whether it's your junior year or senior year, well, obviously before your senior year, but you can go on ahead and log on there, and you can see what the prompts are, and you can start working on those essays. But like I said, that's through the Common Application and the Coalition, which is really nice because when you fill out that big, broad application, it can be sent to multiple different schools. And then there might be a section from NC State with a few separate questions that you have to fill out. I know at State we have one essay question and there's two through the Common Application. I think we suggest that students do fill those out because the more we know about you, the better. But if anybody wants to jump in and kind of explain a little bit better, that's my spiel.
Yeah, I agree with everything Adam said. And going off of that, I would say take note of some of your successes and some of your failures as you're going through high school, even if you just jot them down somewhere, because those will really come in handy as far as when you're talking about your character and things that you've gone through and things that you want to pursue. Just knowing what those things are in advance before you start your essays could definitely alleviate some stress. And I'd also say with that, just be yourself. So sometimes people just want to, or sometimes people want to sound like really profound and like, but just be yourself. Like, if you are like naturally that way, that's fine. But just being yourself is very, it helps you to stand out and be unique because like I said earlier, a lot of people are involved in some of the same clubs and some of the same activities. So having that essay that's unique to you and your experiences will definitely help you stand out in your application.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And to Adam's point, like we definitely recommend for all of you, like if your essay or if your application has these essay questions, please do them, even if they are optional, because the more that we can know about you outside of your grades, outside of your test scores, outside of just like the numbers that are on your application, it will only benefit you. I promise you that. And so another really great way that you can apply to colleges is through CFNC. So this is it stands for the College Foundation of North Carolina. I will say that not all colleges are on or have their application through CFNC, but a lot of them do. And this can be a really great way that you can also submit your application to college or just to the university of your choice. So definitely recommend for you to look into all of these different application avenues and yeah, just be as prepared as you can. And we're going to stick with that topic of college applications. So y'all, how many colleges did y'all two apply for when you were in high school, and how many would you recommend for students to apply for?
I applied to 8, and so that's kind of what I would recommend, like 3 to 5. I know 8 it might be a little bit much, but I would recommend 3 to 5. So I had my number one choice, and then I also had like 2 to 3 that I was like, okay, if I don't get into my number one choice, then like I'd also still be happy here. And then I had some that I applied to that I was just like, I just want to see if I can get in, like just, just because. But I'd say 3 to 5.
Yeah, I was right around the same with Gabe. I think I applied to 5 or 6. And I had a few friends that like applied to just one, and they were like, if I don't go here, then that's it. And I don't think that's a great idea at all. I think like Gabe said, pick 3 or 4. And obviously you're going to have your top college or something like that. And then if that doesn't work out, like I said earlier, seriously, like where you get into college does not define who you are and how successful you can be. That took a lot of time for me to figure out. And that's why I like to repeat that a lot. Because, having those options is great, and looking into the different programs, as Gabe has mentioned multiple times, every college is going to have something awesome and unique about it. So just have, a good list of, I think 5 is a good number too.
Like I said last week to y'all students, I applied to 2, but that was because I was I was first gen and I didn't know what I was doing. So I was like, I don't even know how many I should be applying to. So these 2, but they're closest to home. So I think this is fine. Looking back at it, I should have definitely applied to like 5. But yes, don't just apply to 2. Apply to as many as you can. And also, y'all, that's where the concept comes back from last week. Fee waivers, getting the coins, and saving as much money, because that way you can apply to as many schools as we are recommending. Speak to your high school counselor, to your college advisor. Like y'all, I'm gonna give y'all a little secret. If you can qualify for free and reduced lunch, even if you've never eaten in the cafeteria a day in your life and you hate their food, that's fine. still apply to free and reduced lunch if you qualify for it, because that's the #1 verification factor that your counselors use to give you those fee waivers for college. As a previous college advisor, like, I tell you that because that's what I was checking. So if y'all, like, that is my advice for the day, like, even if you don't eat in the cafeteria in your high school, apply for free and reduced lunch, because that's how you get the free coins. I digress. Let me ask the next question. Okay, so actually, sorry, I was so in the zone of what y'all were saying that I did not look through these next questions, so I apologize.
I can go if you want, Jackie.
Yes, please.
And also with that, someone did ask about when the Common App opens. So for NC State specifically, our application opens August 1st of your senior year. But for any college that you're applying to, it's usually in the summertime before your senior year. So that's when you would start that application process. But as far as the next question, could you guys talk about the difference in early action and early decision, and then why should you apply early to a college?
Yeah, so I believe early action and early decision is the same thing. It's just the difference between those two words, right? Yeah, so I'll explain the difference between early and regular maybe. So early action is when you apply by November 1st of your senior year, and you hear back by January 30th of your senior year. And then regular decision is when you apply by January 15th of your senior year, and you hear back March 30th of your senior year. So the only difference is about a 2 to 3 month between when you apply and when you hear back. But neither one of them is binding. Again, you have until May 1st before you officially commit. And I will say, I guess, a benefit with early action is that you have earlier priority access possibly to housing and scholarships, such as the Park and the Goodnight Scholarship, which are two of the most universities' prestigious and valuable scholarships. So that could be a plus with applying early. And the amount of students in the early action pool is typically smaller. But again, if you get deferred, then your application will be considered with the regular decision.
I also have to chime in real quick and just say, I highly, 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 if you can do it, recommend doing early action for all the colleges you apply to. I didn't do that for a lot of mine, and just the added stress of being so close to graduating high school and still not knowing where I'd gotten in and where I was going to end up was not a lot of fun. I mean, if you can't, and for some odd reason you only want to maybe apply to 2 or 3 schools early action, and you decide a little later, I'm gonna add a couple schools to that, that's perfectly fine. But I wish I would have done every school early action, just so I would have known in January that this is where I was gonna be. And then those next 3 or 4 months of high school were me preparing for that, and, kind of just getting in the right mental space of where I'm going to end up and be spending the next 4 years of my life.
I definitely agree, and thank you for saying that. Yes, I hope that the difference between the early action versus early decision and regular decision was super clear to y'all. If it's not, please let us know. But I definitely recommend applying as early as you can, because that also qualifies you for more scholarships at the majority of schools that you're applying for. These are through the institutional scholarships, so the scholarships that NC State offers specifically, or ECU offers through their school. So the earlier that you apply, the more that you will qualify for this institutional aid. So you absolutely will not go wrong with that. And so we have a question, and because Gabriel, you mentioned the defer process. So I'm actually going to throw this question to Jocelyn if you're able to answer, because this is very admissions-y. So why would one be deferred, and what exactly does that mean?
Yeah, so as far as someone being deferred, so if you apply early action, there's 3 possible decisions that you could receive. So you could be admitted, you could be denied, or you could be deferred. So if you're deferred, that just means that we need a little bit more information before we decide whether you're accepted or not into NC State. So in the case that you're deferred, then we would review your application again with the regular decision students, and then you would receive an updated decision at that point.
Cool, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and I guess I can just swing into a next question. So Gabriel and Adam, what do y'all do for fun? During your free time? Do y'all have free time? What is that like?
Yeah, so I will say some of my fun is in my campus involvement. So one of my biggest passions is music. So as director of Uninhibited Praise Gospel Choir, I literally get to spend about 4 to 6 hours per week through rehearsals and engagements doing that. So that's a way that I have fun and unwind. Also on campus, we have events like literally every day. There's an event of some type. So some things we have, like we have university activities board. So they'll play movies in Witherspoon Student Cinema like pretty much weekly. And a lot of times there are movies that are either new that were blockbusters or sometimes that haven't even come out yet. And they're free to the student body. Also, they have parties in Tally Student Union sometimes. So they've had like silent disco. They've also had like glow parties, like the glow sticks. So just a lot of different things like that. And also with Raleigh being in such a convenient and diverse location, so it's close to downtown. So we have opportunities for entertainment, such as concerts at PNC Arena, at Red Hat Amphitheater, but it's also close to like 2 malls, so Crabtree Triangle Town Center. So it's just a lot of different things that you can do around campus with it being in a pretty big city.
Yeah, Gabe basically covered probably everything. Being in the a cappella group, also the arts and music covers a big portion of my life, just because I'm sure Gabe can attest. Having that arts as like a place to escape from academics is awesome. I highly recommend that to anybody. Just have that one hobby, whether it's arts related or not, athletics, anything like that. Another thing that I've recently been doing, since I still am in Raleigh, but there's not really a lot going on, obviously, in the community right now, is just getting outside. Our campus is beautiful. I personally, I'm partial, obviously, but I just love walking through and hanging out. If you have the opportunity later, you can look up Tucker Owen Beach. It's like a little volleyball area that we have. It's right outside of where I lived for a couple years, in Bowen, like I'd mentioned earlier. So I have my dog with me in my apartment, and we go out basically every other day with my roommates, and we play volleyball and spike ball. Just kind of hang out. There's grills down there, so we'll grill out. And that's something you can do during the school year as well. You're free to kind of just go around. We have Lake Raleigh, which is on our Centennial campus, which is a really awesome resource that we've been using recently to go on runs or walks or bike rides or something like that. Obviously, I'm from the mountains, so I'm used to having that, and we don't have that here. But I've learned this summer, just because I've been, kind of stuck inside, and now that I'm able to get out and be outdoors, that NC State has a lot of trails that you can go and explore that are either local to us within walking distance of campus, or you can go out into Cary or Chapel Hill or Raleigh. Like Gabe said, even just going downtown and seeing the different buildings and eateries and stuff like that is a lot of fun. So yeah.
Cool, thanks. So the next question is about food. So can you guys talk about the meal plans? Where do you eat on campus? And I guess what's your favorite place to eat?
Yeah, so we have three of the most popular meal plans are like the deluxe, the everyday, and then like the weekday. I had the everyday plan, so that means that I was able to eat in dining halls and things throughout the week. I had a certain amount of, so there's meal credits and meal swipes. So basically a meal credit is a budget of how much money that's covered at a restaurant. And then anything that goes above that will be taken out of your dining dollars. And each of those meal plans comes with like 100 to 200 dining dollars. So for example, like at Starbucks, a breakfast meal credit might be $6.50. But if my total goes above that, the rest of that will be taken out of my dining dollars. So you get to experiment with like figuring out what rhythm works best for you throughout those dining plans. We have 3 traditional dining halls. So we have Fountain, Case, and Clark. Case is typically for athletes only after like 4 p.m. or 3 p.m. But to me, that's my favorite one because with the athletes eating there, like the food is really, really good. But the food at all of them is pretty good. They're very inclusive with dietary needs. So for example, vegan, vegetarian, gluten-free, all of those things. There's options everywhere for those. We also have like a food court, several food courts. So we have a Chick-fil-A, smoothie place, Asian cuisine, a sub place. We have Los Lobos, which is like NC State's version of Chipotle. So we have a lot of different options here on campus. And I guess my favorite would be, I'm gonna go with One Earth. So this is a world cuisine place, and it's also a food court style. But yeah, it's my favorite. It's in Tally Student Union.
Yeah, Gabe covered everything pretty well. I absolutely loved living on campus and having a meal plan. Now that I'm off on my own and I have to cook my own, going to the grocery store is not fun. Like, I don't know if any of y'all do that yet, and I hadn't done it a lot until this year. And having my student ID that basically was access to all my food 24/7 all school year was really awesome. One thing about our dining halls that is really cool is they do not count as a meal swipe. They're not a meal credit, so that's just the dining or like the food court style places like the Chick-fil-A or the Los Lobos. So if you have one of those 3 plans that Gabe was talking about, is you can go into the dining halls 20 times a day. It doesn't matter. If you just want to pop in and grab a snack or ice cream or something, you can do that and you're good to go. And it's also a buffet style. So you can get as many plates of food as you want. And you can just hang out. Sometimes I would go in there at 6 o'clock to study, and I would just eat food and study for a couple hours because it was easy. It was a nice place. Sometimes it was really quiet. And they also sometimes have like special nights. So I remember one night they had like a Stranger Things themed night where you could go in and some of the food from the show was there. They had made it to kind of look cool. They were like Eggo waffles and stuff like that. So our dining does a lot of fun things to make it exciting. As Gabe mentioned, my favorite place is the One Earth, like he said as well. Since it is global cuisine, they actually rotate the menu every week. So you can find something different every week, and they kind of have that rotating every month, different weeks or different things. And I really, like I said, I enjoyed the dining a lot, and I think it was really good food. Obviously, after a couple of years, you get a little tired of it, but yeah. Oh, one last thing. Sorry, I almost forgot. We work through Grubhub. So you can actually get the app on your phone. And if you're sitting in class, you can order your food through one of the NC State places like Los Lobos or something. And then you can actually go through, show them your phone, and then pick up your food to go if you have another class or you have work or something to be at. I use that feature almost every single day because as a college student, you get really busy sometimes. So the fact that you could order it on your phone and then go pick it up was really nice and convenient. I'm passionate about the food, as you guys can tell.
We love that. We love convenience. I guess on the topic of food, how common is the freshman 15? We've all heard of it. Like, is it true? And how common is it? Did y'all get it? Like, if y'all want to be vulnerable like that, like, let's talk about it.
So I think it depends on who you are. I've personally been fluctuating between the same weight since like I was 17 and I'm 20 now. So I didn't really get it. I gained a little bit of weight, but it's like you also walk a lot. So freshman 15, even though you eat a lot, like you walk everywhere. I walked at least like 1 to 2 miles every day, which is a lot more than I did in high school as far as that. So even though I wasn't formally, and so I will say this, the walking and things that I did on campus were enough to, I guess, maintain my size, but I didn't do any additional exercise. So again, it depends on who you are. Everybody's different. Everybody's eating habits and bodies are different. But for me, that was just not my experience. And I kind of actually want to gain a little more.
I'm semi in the same boat. I'm a nutrition major, which does not mean I eat very well. I don't have a really healthy diet. I know how to have a healthy diet, but I don't really follow that the best. I'll actually say that some people struggle with the opposite. For me personally, whenever I get stressed about exams or something like that, I tend to not eat rather than overeat. So I've had to teach myself, and you'll learn once you get to college that there are certain things you have to learn about yourself and stressors and stuff. So I've had to learn that when I have an exam, like Adam, you have to get up in the morning, you have to eat breakfast, you have to eat lunch. You can't, starve yourself because you're worried about this exam or something. So when it just depends on the person. Some people do struggle with that more, but like Gabe said, you're walking a lot, you're moving a lot, and you're staying so busy all the time that it almost seems impossible. Plus the options here are, they try to be pretty healthy with everything they do, which makes it a lot easier to eat healthy if you want to.
And just to add to that really quick, one thing I did struggle with, I guess, was kind of the opposite of freshman 15. So I went through phases where I would lose weight because like some people stress eat, but sometimes when I get stressed, I like neglect eating and I'm like so focused on schoolwork and getting things done that I'm like end up rewarding myself with food, and I shouldn't really do that. So that's kind of also something that can, or just another perspective of it to look at as far as freshman 15. Sometimes people end up losing weight. I don't advise that you skip meals because you're busy, but it's just something that can happen.
Thank you guys for answering that honestly. This next question is about transitioning from high school to college. So what was that transition like for you guys, having to live on your own? And then as far as like going from high school courses to college courses. So if you could just talk about your transition when you started at NC State.
Yeah, definitely. So as I mentioned earlier, I'm pretty extrovert by nature, but being in college, I'm 3.5, 4 hours away. I only had probably 3 students from my high school come here other than me. So I was pretty much on my own in regards to just not knowing anybody or being around anybody I knew. As I mentioned earlier, the village helped me step out of my comfort zone and meet people. One other thing, if you're not a part of a village, I learned that once you get to college, something that helps with the transition a lot is to recognize that everybody is also in that same space. So everybody you see is uncomfortable. It's new for them. It's a new experience. And so just walking up to someone and being like, hey, my name's Adam. Nice to meet you. Where are you from? They talk to you, and it's really nice. The area that I mentioned earlier that I still go to hang out at, I remember the first week of school, there were hundreds of people out there just hanging out, having a good time. And that's kind of what it was, is you get together with a group of people, you sit down and you just talk about yourselves, which is really exciting. And it's a fun opportunity unlike anything else. So that was challenging, but it was really rewarding in the end. In regards to academics, I was not prepared at all for what was to come, at least in the sciences, and how rigorous those classes were going to be. But one thing I did learn is the resources at NC State, as well as I'd say every university, as long as you're willing to reach out and use your resources, you are able to do really, really well. You just have to really want it. So I'll just mention real quick, we have a tutoring center here at NC State. And they do tutoring in physics, chemistry, and calculus predominantly. They have other resources for other subjects, but as a first-year student transitioning, since it was a lot harder than I thought it was going to be, I remember sitting in my chemistry class having no idea what she was talking about. I literally got out of class, I walked down to the tutoring center, and I said, hey, I need help. And within a week, I had a tutor already assigned to me, and I met with that person twice a week, and we went over the material, whether I needed it or not. It was a good accountability for me. I ended up using that resource 2 or 3 more times. And I might end up using it again next year, even as a senior, because it's really just helpful to use it. One thing I'll mention real quick is it's included into our tuition, so you don't have to pay any extra fees. You might as well use it because you're kind of already paying for it in tuition. And then other things like we could talk about, like meeting with your professors and stuff like that. The transition wasn't easy, but it was definitely manageable as long as you're willing to make it work and use your resources.
Yeah, so I definitely agree with everything Adam said, and especially with the University Tutorial Center. That's something that I used for every semester through my sophomore year with Calc. I had to take the Calc 1 through 3 sequence, so that came in handy, having tutoring every week. Also, so for me, the work itself was not more challenging than figuring out how to do it strategically and in a way that was like best for me and my rhythm, I guess. So like just by taking honors and AP classes, I think that prepares you for the rigor and the depth that you can expect in college classes. But just as far as freedom with figuring out, what times of day are you most productive? Are you really a morning person like you thought? Are you not a morning person? When should I do my work? When can I balance getting involved in meeting people and doing my work, but also maintaining relationships back home and maintaining my self-care? So just balancing out all of those things and trying to get the most complete and fulfilling experience, to me, was more challenging than the actual work itself. Because like Adam said, there's resources here. Professors and your teacher's assistants and things like that, they show that they're here for your success. There's always opportunities for you to brush up and to get more help academically. But for me, just like all the other things of life.
Who is that? Justin, what?
Hey everyone.
Hello.
Hey, just
Welcome, Justin.
This was not planned. Okay, so we have a little under 10 minutes left to continue asking and answering questions. I don't know if Justin wants to like give a formal welcome or show his face or anything of the sort.
I didn't mean to interrupt. Hey everyone. Hey y'all. It's been a while since I've seen everyone. I just want to drop in and say hello. Sorry to interrupt. Gabriel and Adam, I'm sure you're doing an awesome job. That's amazing. Just been a while. Just want to check in. I had another presentation. Just ended. Ignore me. Go on my business.
We will ignore you. Thank you.
Why are you saying hey to me? Hey everyone. I know it's been a while.
All right, so for the next question, just kind of going off of the topic of applications again. So for college essays, like I know that both of you had said or talked about the importance of standing out. And I know, Gabriel, you talked a lot about like a lot of students have the same activities that they're doing like in terms of extracurriculars. So what advice do y'all have to allow for an essay to stand out and be strong enough to like catch the attention of like whoever is reading it? So like what advice do y'all have for students who are writing their essays and who are kind of struggling to find a topic and go about that process?
I would definitely say, for one, like make sure you at the end of the day, make sure you address the prompt. So whatever the prompt is, there's different ways that you can approach it, but make sure that you're able to ask yourself, like, did I answer what they were asking me? Also, I would say to have your essay stand out by, again, so with the things that you're involved in, think of ways that you can leave your footprint or your fingerprint on them. So for example, when it comes to like being an NHS, if there's something that you can think of for your school's organization of NHS that can help it be more organized, or that can help it do service to a population who it typically doesn't serve, or just things like that that are meaningful to you and that have shown that you have left a sustainable impact on your community, because ultimately that's what we want our students to do at state. We want them to leave that sustainable impact here and beyond. So just show that you're able to do that in whatever way or ways that you were involved.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And then earlier, Gabe had mentioned something that I really liked, and it's you should talk about things you're passionate about, that you actually genuinely have like a passion for. Because I know I got caught up in high school in just answering the prompt to the best of my ability to make myself look the best, which, like Gabe said, that's kind of what everybody gets stuck doing. Obviously, you want to sell yourself to people, but if you're able to sit down and think about like why that was important to you or why you were a part of that, that's a lot more, meaningful than just, I'm doing this because I want to get into a good university. But actually kind of knowing the root of where that came from and why it was something that was important to you and why it's something that will leave an impact on you and that you left an impact on. I think that helps a lot. I was going to say something else, but I don't remember what I was going to say. So never mind.
Thanks, y'all. And I just want to chime in a little bit and saying that literally, like when y'all are writing your essays, choose any topic that you want. Like if it's about your involvements, like that is great. And that's a really great like thing to write about if it has a personal impact on you and your story and your person. But if it's something completely outside of what you're involved in, outside of your academics, like that is incredible too. Something that has shaped you as a person, something that like a memorable moment that you've gone through, or like an experience that you've had. I know that like when I'm reading essays, and I can tell y'all right now that the most memorable essay that I've ever read on a college application was how somebody accidentally got like called into a chicken judging contest, and how she had no idea what she was doing, but she was there and her chicken won the competition. And like that had nothing to do with like anything, but it was super memorable. And like that stuff like that makes an impact, and it makes us want to like push for you because it's so impactful and like it's memorable as well.
Yeah, I was gonna actually, the thing that I was gonna ask you all a question, if that's okay, as counselors and people that read. I feel like one thing I learned is that like sometimes it's okay to take I don't want to say a humorous route, but you almost answered my question in that like I know when I was applying, I only wanted to do like super serious, look at me, I'm great, and there wasn't a lot of my personality that was able to stand through because I was so focused on like making it something that wasn't me. But I feel like, do y'all maybe prefer to have like, I'm not saying prefer, but like if you do have a humorous story that was meaningful to you, or like just something that'll give like more personality, is that obviously that probably is more memorable and better in the long run?
I would say so, honestly. I would say when it comes to college essays, because I remember sitting in 8th grade and learning how to write essays and thinking like the 5-paragraph essay, like the intro and the body paragraphs and the conclusion. Like when it comes to writing your college essays, y'all throw that idea out the window, because like, yes, we want to see how you're able to write, but it's also like, it's kind of the balance of that, but also showing us who you are and just writing like who you are. And it like, I know that I like when I'm writing stuff, I usually use like the text to talk thing on my phone, because I want my personality to come out something, or when I'm like wanting to say something. So I would say that if you had to opt for like formality versus like showing who you are, always opt for showing us who you are and showing us your personality, and just telling us something that'll help us see something that's not already on your application, if that makes sense. I don't know if Justin and Jocelyn, y'all want to chime in as well.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, kind of a similar to what you were saying, Jackie. Definitely, like, we want to see who you are, because we're reading a lot of applications and a lot of essays. And so, that can be really tiring if we're just reading really boring essays. So if you talk about yourself, you are all really interesting people and you have something interesting to say. So like, definitely include it in your essay, because it can, we're reading a lot. So.
And I was kind of say the same thing. So I feel like I've said this so many times over the past couple of weeks to different students, but like, as Jackie said, the essay, I don't really mind anything you write about. I just want to know more about you. That's kind of what makes me exciting. And you can go off the rail, but like, I want to know what makes you, you. So who you are beyond the transcripts and test scores. And like, if I can see your personality and get an idea of who you are, I'll just love it in general. For me, the way I tell people is like, anyone, like all 5 of us, for example, we all have went to college or are in college. We might have a lot of similarities and things that we may have things in common with each other, but our story is very different. Our stories in general is gonna be very different. And so on applications, that's what I love to see. Like no matter what, I just want to see what makes you, you, what makes you kind of tick and what makes you unique and special to yourself. So that's a really good question, Adam. Like I love to see personality. It's fun to me. And it switches things up. Like we see a lot at one time. So they're all gonna be different anyway, but like, makes it fun.
Yeah, and with that, somebody was asking about where you can find the essay prompts, because I know you all mentioned it earlier. So that Common App essay prompts, if you just like Google Common App essay prompts, you'll find them. And those essay prompts typically stay the same every year. So you can go ahead and find those essay prompts and start writing something down and use them in the future when you're applying to whatever college it is that you're applying to. You can go ahead and use those essays.
Yes, and y'all, like as admissions counselors, like we're available if you want to just like send us your essay, be like, hey, can you take a look at this? And we'd be happy to. Like, and when I say like formality kind of goes out the window, like still use spell check, still like put your periods where they have to go, but like the 5-paragraph essays kind of structure and format, like that's not super important when you're writing your essay. So for the sake of time, so it is 2:00 and time flies when you're having fun. And I see that we have a lot of questions still. And again, as I say every week, I'm so sorry if we did not get to your question today, but we have plenty of time throughout this next month to get to answer your question, but we're going to wrap it up with a very quick one. So on the topic of food, so as one thing that, not sure if it was mentioned, but NC State, one of our claims to fame is that we make our own ice cream. It's called Howling Cow, and it's delicious. So if we can just close out with saying, like, can we just go around and say what is our favorite, like, Howling Cow flavor, just ice cream flavor in general?
Mine is Campfire Delight. So I like s'more stuff. So it's like a s'mores ice cream, and yeah, it's like cold s'mores. You don't get that often, so I love it.
Yeah, mine's also Campfire Delight, but I go with chocolate too. I'm kind of keeping it simple sometimes.
Mine is cookie dough.
Justin?
So sorry, I didn't know you want me to say mine too. Hands down, mine is probably gonna be Campfire Delight. But since both of y'all said it, I'm gonna go with banana pudding because it tastes legit like banana pudding. And just for someone who asked in the comment in the chat box really quickly, that link is for the essay prompts, but they don't offer help, but we can, like Jackie said.
Yes, we are available, y'all. Use us as resources. And for me, I've only had Howling Cow twice, and that's my embarrassing moment for today. But I've had since I'm addicted to coffee, I like what is it called? The cappuccino? Whatever the coffee flavor is. Just because I feel like I'm having like a 2-in-1, like I'm having my cup of coffee, but I'm having it in the form of ice cream, which is great. And I just love it. But with that, yes, so we are absolutely, so for us admissions counselors, we can share our contact information, like our email address, in case you want to start sending us your drafts and your ideas, because we love to hear them. But for this concludes today's Wednesday pre-college program session. Thank you, all of you all, for joining us. And Gabriel and Adam, thank you so much for being here and just being honest and answering these questions the best that you were able to. So we definitely appreciate that, and thank you for your time. So just as some few announcements for Camino students, next week is our week, and I'm so excited. So next week we will have sessions every single day from Monday through Thursday. You will be getting an email about that very, very soon. But y'all, I'm like, if I could be bouncing off the walls right now with excitement, I would definitely do that because I'm so excited. We have so much planned for you all, so just be prepared for spending a lot of time with us. For my NEF students, and for my NEF students, you'll be here next Wednesday, same time, same place, and you'll be joined by our ESA students just to continue with the student spotlight. You'll still be able to ask questions and get answers about the student experience. And so just keep those questions coming. Again, if we didn't get to yours today, I'm so sorry, but there will be plenty of time to do that later on. But yeah, don't know if you all have any last comments or sentiments before we end the call.
Yeah, I just wish y'all the best in your college application process and for finishing your high school careers. Just keep pushing.
Yeah, good luck. It was awesome talking to all y'all.
Joe, okay, I was like,
I was saying y'all do it. Gabriel and Adam, big thank you for y'all. Definitely appreciate y'all doing it. Students, thank y'all so much. We're good. Y'all did a phenomenal job.
all right, so this concludes the session. Happy Wednesday. Bye, y'all.
Everybody.